So what do we espy here? We've got raider fortifications that look like a blind man assembled them. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We've got the skeletal remains of buses, gutted and repurposed for whoever needed them. Raiders needed them, yeah. So all this points to a place of evil and sadness. A school! A school called the D.B. Technical High School, located near Wilson Automatoys. Now before we go inside, I want to show you something outside. It's a Pulaski, whatever, fallout shelter, round the back, near the basketball courts. This feral ghoul here. Now from its size, what it's wearing, and where we find it, this looks like it could have been a student or a child. It must have got trapped in here after the bombs went off, and no one bothered opening it. Arseholes. Anyway, let's take a wee gander inside. It's direct, like the whole place is a mess. So we're off to a great start. Near this wall of rubble, we can find some lockers, and they're a common sight in this school. The drugs inside them are also a pretty common sight, as well, though I'll talk about why I think there are so many later. There's also a Jangles the Moon Monkey, if you're into that sort of thing. Also a foot. Next to that foot, we come to a room that I assume was administration, based on the cubicles and the safe, which we can shamelessly empty. The roof of the next room has collapsed, probably just from either the blast or age. A medical tank full of what I assume is oxygen, or some other substance, is also here, as well as a medkit, some beds, and a skeleton. It's likely that this room was the infirmary of the school, which probably got its fair share of visitors given the school's dedication to sports. Outside that room, some of the lockers have more hands, and also drugs lying beside sporting equipment. You're probably forming the same suspicion that I had at this point. Next to that, we come to the male toilets. It has more fucking hands. Alright, this skill is weird. And some leg bones. A head in a urinal. Fantastic. In one of the cubicles, we actually find the remains of someone having to smoke. Or, at least they were about to. Likely a student, as teachers would have no reason to hide like this. I know it was a Saturday. Some schools have Saturday classes. I don't have all the answers, unfortunately. Blame Bethesda. Outside the toilets, we cross the hall and go deeper into the school. A large section of rubble is found here, within which are buried many corpses. Given their appearance and the volume, along with the suspected cause, the blast, these must have been occupants of this school, caught here when the war started, and no one moved them. Not sure where the rubble's from, as the roof is more or less fine, but whatever. To the left, we find some heads on spikes, victims of the raiders here, we assume. Next to them is a storage room, and it is here we find another poor bastard. It looks like they were wheeling supplies or equipment out when the blast hit, and it killed them. Someone else's remains are also here, but they look to have been scattered about a bit. Next to that room, we find a large open one, with all its walls knocked down. These were likely classrooms or maybe storage, if the shelves aren't anything to go on. Also, some lovely fellow has been hung here by hooks. It's likely that his missing head is adorning one of the poles we find along this corridor. At the end of the corridor, to the left, we come to the library. Here, you can find a few books to return. More heads are also present here, and it seems someone was also sleeping. Wedged in between two shelves, we find another corpse and a mini nuke. It's also an odd place for a corpse, and the large presence of heads is weird too. Usually, that's only used outside to mark territory. We can find another corpse here as well, and it's at this point we begin to suspect that something else was going on here. Were these really all raider victims? The next room was definitely storage, and bar a shotgun trap, doesn't contain anything of note or interest. The corridor through the wall, however, is fucked up. We find more corpses here, strewn about the place, and a ramp leading to the next floor. Once again, they don't look like regular raider victims. In fact, some of them look like they were just beheaded and left there, like they were murdered. Underneath the desk is what was likely a teacher. We find it here like this, which raises the question of whether she died and fell under here, or was trying to take cover to survive the blast. This brings us full circle, so now we shall head down the other side of that hallway. The door to the kitchen area is just to the right, and we come across yet another corpse. She probably wasn't the cook or anything like that, she was just here, and is now dead. Ha! The room adjoining the kitchen at least tells us that they were not cannibals. Thank Almighty Odin. Also, her dogs. The room outside of this one is all one thing. It looks like it was the cafeteria and also doubled up as an area to make announcements, based on the stage and podium at the back. No corpses are found here, though there are a lot of trays and some food. Also a wheelchair. This room is a little confusing as I don't understand how there are not more bodies here. Back outside the kitchen, we find a trophy area of sorts, showing off some of the things the school is good at. Seems to be mostly baseball and basketball. This matches up with what we hear over the PA system, some of which I will show you at the end. Opposite that display is what I assume was the teacher's lounge, and it has more bodies. These two looked like they were part of the raider group that was present here, and something savaged the shite out of them. Now we should take the stairs up to the next floor, to see what other fucked up shit is going on here. To the right we come to another classroom. The desks have been set up as cover or a shooting blind. The reason is probably the massive hole in the wall, and proceeding ramp down to the lower floor. If someone took the lower areas, they would need points from which to defend the higher floors. Now all these rooms are connected now by the holes in their walls, and with the lower cafeteria by the holes in the floor. I'm not sure what they were. I mean, they could be classrooms, but they look a bit off to me. They're too large. This could just be a scale issue when the area was designed, but it does look strange to me and I can't exactly put my paw on why. We come out on the other side, and we find a varsity jacket here. I'm told that means they played sport competitively, though the jackets seem weird to me. We don't have them here. The next room was definitely a classroom, and many of the desks have been utilised as cover. The chairs have also been stacked in an odd way for some reason. Maybe whoever did it was on drugs at the time. Honestly, I really wouldn't be that surprised. The next room's desks make more sense. They made a bowling alley of sorts with them. It's a very whimsical thing to do, and it's a weird contrast to how gruesome everything is down below, and up here. Also, how in the hell did they get those bodies up there? I'm not even mad, it's just impressive. That would have taken considerable effort. A hole in the wall brings us to the room that led down to the corridor with the bodies in it. Following that creepy link, it also has a teddy bear and a bastard symbol monkey. Nothing seems to happen when it goes off, but still, keep your wits about you. Also, seems one of the teachers like to hide some drink and smokes near them. The locker opposite us gives us a view of some more drugs. Buff out again, just to keep feeding that growing suspicion that should be almost full form by now for many of you. Back on the other side of the hall, we enter the women's bathroom and find a plunger doing exactly what it's meant to. The next room has the most drink we have seen so far, which is surprising as I haven't seen any other living areas with so much luxury. I think their boss was up here for a while and left, and later on you'll see why. Outside we find the corpse of someone perched on a ladder. Okay, this one's weird, if only because of the strange pile next to them, which looks like someone made to climb up onto the ladder using those lockers, or to get him off of it. I don't know why they didn't and just left him here, but here he is, all this time later. Next to the ladder is a hole in the wall that brings us to the next room, a room in which I think they were making, or trying to, drugs in. This is because we find a lot of them classed in the various chemical apparatus around the room when we first get here, as well as the chem station in the corner. The room across from this one is empty of anything interesting. The next one, however, is just great. A pile of burning terminals and heads, all watched over by a befuddled kitten painting. There's a message in there somewhere. I think I know why this happened, but first, let's look at this terminal. The first entry is a corrupted program that seems to write book reports, so perhaps this terminal belonged to a student that was also a wee lazy shit. The next entry is about the Raiders' boss. He's been acting odd since they took over Backstreet Apparel, which we will cover one day. He's lurking around the basement and drinking the water, so he is well off the deep end at this point. The second last one is on something in the basement. A monster is attacking members of the group, killing them and leaving their bodies lying around. They think it came from the tunnels, but we shall see what it is soon enough. The last one talks about the rising body count. 8 people have been brutally killed, and many of the raiders are refusing to go down there anymore. They are going to try and make it to the tunnel. So this terminal gave us somewhat of an explanation of what happened, and why there are so many corpses. But it's not the whole truth, which we shall get to now, in the basement. The basement itself is quite spacious, and has a lot of pipe work running underneath it, as well as an elevator that we can take to the higher floors, if needs be. A barricade of lockers has been set up in the middle of one of the tunnels, and in front of it, a skeleton. Based on the chemicals around them, buff out. I think this one was likely pre-war, probably an athlete of some description. The buff out once again being another clue to what was going on here. The room opposite contains the ramp that leads up to the cafeteria, and also another skeleton having a wheel of a time in a trolley, with some crisps. The next room contains a plunger that has just murdered a flamingo and a car. The remains stroll beside it. A power armor station is also present here. To the right of that room we find the exit, leading to the metro. Now, it's large enough that I believe it warrants a video in of itself, and it doesn't have too much bearing on this place. Just know that these were the tunnels they thought the monster came out of, and we will look at it one day. Ignoring the pool for now, we can pass it and end up in this large locker room. A lot of sporting equipment is still left over here from before the war, once again highlighting the school's athletic inclinations. Now, for the pool room. A makeshift walkway has been erected in the pool, which is now filled with dirty water. Bodies hang from hooks here. One of them is still swaying, which I did not know they did. The throne at the end of the room is surrounded by many skulls and various pieces of flesh. This is clearly the throne of the leader of these raiders. By their bed, we can find a fat man and an issue of the Unstoppables. Then, we can take a look at their terminal. The first entry is Shamrock, which would be a great name for a burr. They attack the Shamrock Tap House with dogs, and after they get backstreet apparel, downtown will be theirs. This entry really highlights how brutal this group was. Damn Mutts is the first part that begins to explain everything. The boss was bitten by one of the dogs when they took backstreet apparel. He killed the dog, arsehole, and then its owner. Something's wrong is when we begin to suspect him. It seems the dog's bite did something to him, something that filled him with rage. I think this is also why those computers upstairs were on fire. Also, he's blacking out. Poison is when the paranoia sets in. He thinks people are trying to poison him, and killed 3 of them as a result. He's becoming unhinged. He also says he can feel the dog under his skin. Weirdo. He still needs water, so he moves to the basement to drink the pool water there. I don't think it did him any good in the long run, as that water is definitely filled with poison and bacteria and whatever else. Next is about the beast. He thinks there's something down here killing his men. It watches him with one cold eye, which is important, so remember that. He keeps waking up covered in the blood of the people it kills, and the people hanging from the hooks are the ones he sent who failed to kill it. The next entry is entitled Good Boys. They got the creature's head, and he's going to make a statement, something he repeats in many of his entries, to the other guys. Show them who the real monster is. The next one's on Libertalia. I don't know why he says it's not a problem anymore. Either he thinks they're not a threat, or that large bodies of water no longer bother him. I'm unsure which it is. Last Call talks about someone called Tar Tom. Not sure who that one is about. These might be raiders or raider camps we have killed or removed, so these entries may not be here for everyone. The last is Hyde Park. This confirms it likely is the ones we've destroyed, as I put those bastards in the ground. So this was where their leader, who was becoming unhinged after being bitten by a dog, who was prone to blackouts and fits of rage, lived. A monster began to attack and kill the raiders, and he killed those who failed to deliver its head to him, hanging them on hooks. They were eventually successful, and managed to find the head. He wears it now. Yes, the cold staring eye was the plastic eye of a burrhead mascot of the school. Go Burrs can actually be heard several times over the PA system, which we'll listen to in a minute. But yeah, this guy was all kinds of crazy. Now I will let you listen to some of the PA announcements. I may have missed some, but you can form your own opinions on them.
Please remind your parents that the loading zone on Tremont is for buses only. Do you already have several days worth of detention? Donate to the blood drive, receive 2 less days of detention. Seniors, a reminder that you must be 18 or older to attend the Army Recruitment Seminar during second period. Staff would like to remind you that baseball is for after school, and that any radio found on a student will be confiscated. The fall standardized tests are coming. Sign up for Saturday practice sessions starting next month with Sister Ida. As a reminder, Tuesday is the last day to buy tickets for the Halloween Sadie Hawkins dance with East Boston Prep.
So this was DB Technical High School, named after and loosely based on Don Bosco Technical High School. The raider wearing the bear hat was called Bosco, so this is likely in tribute to that, and their mascot was a bear. Bosco was bitten by one of his gang's dogs, and seemed to grow sick and feverish. He was likely infected with something, though I don't know what. He grew angry and suffered from blackouts. He also grew paranoid, thinking members of his crew were trying to poison him. He killed them, which explains some of the corpses we find, though as we now know, not all of them. He moved to the basement and drank the dirty water, which probably made him worse. It was there that he found the monster. The monster was him wearing the mascot head, which is why he woke up after blackouts covered in blood. He eventually got them to bring it to him, though why they didn't just kill him as it was clear he was the monster, I'm not sure. He planned to spread his influence and attack other raider groups. Then we killed him. The school had a rich sporting culture, and was also involved in the vault standardized tests and military recruiting, as the PA system announcements state. However, maybe they were too passionate about winning, and this is what we have suspected throughout this place. All throughout the school, we find hands holding balls, bats, gloves, basketballs, but we also find buffout and other substances beside them, or also in the hands. I think this points to the school using drugs to give them an edge. Now, whether the teachers encouraged it, like in Shaw High School, or the students just did it, is a mystery, one which we may never know the answer to. What we do know is that a raider group was here. Their leader Bosco became sick and spiraled deeper and deeper into madness, becoming a monster, and all he got out of it was a damaged bear head. So yeah, it was totally worth it. The history of an athletic school and the deranged raider that now controls it. I hope you liked this look at all of it. If you did like it, give the video a like, and if you want regular updates, subscribe. Any suggestions for lower or future videos should be left in the comments below. Better yet, go onto my subreddit so we can discuss them in more detail. It's linked in the description. If you wish to, you can support me on Patreon. £1 or $1, I ask for no more. And any rewards you would like to see there, message me and I'll get right on that. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook to get regular updates, or have a wee chat. Any business you wish to discuss, email me at thenthapple.business@gmail.com and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, goodbye.